Hey guys, it's Will. Hopefully you're having a good one. We're going to be jumping into IONQ. We've been trading this stock consistently for the past few months. We've traded it from when we started covering it back in November. So if we just take a look back here, when it was essentially around $10 or $11 a share, and all of the quantum computing space we've been covering since back here. It's kind of when we started to launch the channel. If you guys watching the channel before that, you know we started doing some videos on Robinhood and investing back in 2019. There was a few years where I was making videos about art and travel and entrepreneurship and things like that. Found myself looking at the markets every single day. So then back in November, or was it, yeah, beginning of October, we decided to launch Stockmate, as well as this YouTube channel of doing analysis of stocks and sharing our portfolio live for you guys each day. So take a look here. IONQ, as you can see, it went up to $54 a share before selling off. Now, this is a company that's based out of Maryland. It's a leading company in the field of quantum computing, and it was founded in 2015. And they're kind of relatively new compared to some other quantum computing companies, but they have this general purpose trapped ion quantum computing associated software that's for generating, optimizing, and executing quantum circuits. So as you can see, this recent push up today is significant. It bounced right on that 200-day moving average. What do we know about the 200-day moving average? If it's going to bounce anywhere, it's usually going to be at the 200-day moving average. And if it bounces at the 200-day moving average, that would indicate bullish momentum. So, of course, this is a little pullback in this recent sell-off. So we're not bullish just yet. But if you look at that push-up. The interesting part is if you start to identify the trends here on IONQ, we know that their last earnings report, they announced quarterly revenues of about 43 or $11 million, but it was $43 million over the whole year, which we're seeing increases in revenue from the quantum computing companies, especially, IBM saying that they announced $1 billion in revenue. And despite this growth that we saw with IONQ, which we'll get into a little bit of the financials, they still lost like $220 million. So they're still in startup phase. And this sell-off here is interesting because they recently broke out of this downtrend. It's now looking overextended here on the RSI MACD. If we see it continue this pattern and potentially rebound, some of these rebounds that we've seen on IONQ when it gets into a trend can be huge. I mean, look at these when it's in an uptrend. Here's an uptrend. Obviously, this is a downtrend. But if we get into an uptrend, some of these swings, like right here, that's a 45% swing. What was this one? That's a 20% swing. And those were happening like every other day that we're able to capitalize on the ride up. Here's another 40% swing right there. And these are all within like the same month. There's another 40% swing. And then right here is a 30% swing. Now, then we had the crash here from Quantum and NVIDIA. The interesting part about this, you start to see this recovery basically from here was about a 30% upswing. And we'll see how it reacts and what pattern it starts to develop. It will face some resistance here at about $22 a share because that's a previous support. So potentially could get rejected here. We see it's not really slowing down today, so maybe that won't be an issue. And of course, the next level would be at $26, which in that case, we would be looking at more like a 40 or 50% increase on the stock since this run. Now, when it comes to their startup mentality, right? Because they're still kind of new. They face competition while they're backed by that competition. So that's an interesting key. When you look at IONQ, I don't know if you guys have been to their website or check it out. You can see they have quantum is now. That's a headline they changed to basically reiterate we're using quantum computers right now. They're focusing on CO2 sequestration, so taking it out of the atmosphere. Better battery materials, which they've demonstrated they improved the lithium ion battery by 70% in one study. And improved drug discovery. 1,000 algorithmic qubits can help revolutionize the industry, as well as quantum machine learning. So smarter robots, homes, cars, and more. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So again, industry challenges. While they're able to spend that money because they have investments from Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, these are their partners they're working with. That also means that they have this stiff competition as well. I mean, you guys might have seen Microsoft launches their quantum chip. You see Amazon launching their recent quantum chip. Even Google launched the Willow chip. Now, the interesting part about that is if they're making significant leaps, IONQ, and then their backers are also their competitors, there's two things that can happen. Number one, these big tech companies can take some of the tech and potentially run with it. That's one thing that happens. The other thing that could happen is if they're a little more, I guess, of integrity, the IONQ company, as they make advancements, will grow exponentially. And actually, there's one more thing that could happen, is that one of these big companies will buy IONQ. Now, that's something that could happen too. Now, when it comes to their financial struggles, these companies are backing them, and that's why they're able to go out and spend 200 million. They also have the partners, of course, with some big name brands. You got, of course, Lockheed Martin, Air Force Research, so they're in government as well as the automotive industry. Thompson Cat, so they're in construction industry, research and development, even GE there, so General Electric. And they're basically all over the place in almost every industry because of their trapped ion quantum computers. They're getting a lot of attention, and most likely out of these companies are using IONQ a lot as well. So when you look at this trend, you start to see it push up. There's some interesting thoughts about this. One, we know just as massively that it could fall from one comment from NVIDIA's CEO with the remarks on the practical quantum computing that it may be decades away. That contributed to the stock price. Just as heavy, we could see the opposite become true. And as you know, if you look at some of the investors in quantum, like you have SoftBank or Larry Ellison or Sam Altman, you have these big tech companies, Microsoft, that with a few announcements could drive the quantum space very high. And it doesn't take just those companies. Think about this. When Rigetti runs, or QBTS, which these are the other quantum computing companies, the other stocks, when they have momentum, it's quite common that the whole quantum space, the whole quantum industry and sector will rally as well. So you got to keep that factor in mind. That's something that I think could push the industry further and contribute to volatility down or up, right? Depending on what we see. But overall, there's been a lot of financial concerns in the company as well. So one of the things to kind of contribute to that, before you even look at the financials too, realize they're able to offer their QPUs for usage through the cloud right now. So you can use IONQ and tap into their quantum computers through the cloud. And when you get into the financials, I don't know if you guys know this, but essentially their revenue is not stopping the big companies from investing. You know, we look at this and we see the revenue, and we're looking at it and we're like, okay, revenue 12 million, 11 million, 11 million a quarter, basically $11 million a quarter. The revenue is up 91% year over year, but their net income is down. So they're spending a lot more, not seeing the cash come in. Their revenue is up. You see it beating there in their earnings calls, but again, net income down. Now, why is that important to look at? Because a lot of the investors in the company, if you take a look at NASDAQ, we could start with Rigetti here, and let's just search the symbol IONQ, because on Rigetti you see some of the big institutional holdings like BlackRock and Vanguard and Charles Schwab. But check this out. So when you get into IONQ, We know Microsoft, Nvidia are investors in the company. When you see Morgan Stanley that has basically, what is that, $100 million? BlackRock has almost 300 million. Vanguard has about 400 million invested in IONQ. And you see these other companies, JP Morgan or Charles Schwab or Goldman Sachs. Those are, you see the company facing some challenges here with their net income. The market skepticism on the near term viability is there, especially with seeing the net profit margins. But when you look at the overall institutional interest, they aren't approaching it with quite as much caution as what you might consider when approaching the quantum computing companies. They're more approaching it with, let's pour a lot of money and a good amount of money into these companies, and let's see, despite there's risks with this, we see Nvidia backing them, we see the biggest tech moguls like Google investing money into IONQ. The growth potential and inherent risks associated with IONQ aren't that big according to looking at the institutions. The institutions see it as an emerging quantum computing sector that they're investing heavily in. And that's really important to know as a retail investor. When retail investors in the total capital maybe makes up 5, 10, or 20% of most stocks on any given day, to know what the institutions are buying is really helpful. Do we invest solely based on institutions? No. In fact, one of the positions we took today in our live session in Stockmate was CTM, and it's not invested by really any institutional holders. It's fairly unknown. And that's where you can get big money finding, you're going to get better profits finding stocks before they blow up, of course. But also, when this quantum computing industry is looked at, it's only around $100 to $200 billion tops in market cap with all these companies. So to consider that and then say, okay, we're maybe 100 billion, let's say 100 billion, and the market opportunity is 1 trillion, 2 trillion, according to Microsoft, or looking at what IONQ themselves were saying when they were talking at CES, at that conference we went to in Las Vegas. They said it was like a $3 trillion industry in the coming years. Some estimating more, some estimating less. But of course, in every market cycle, there's moments of boom. There's moments of, like right here, this trend that was so great that we love to ride with IONQ. And then there's moments of bust where you have that announcement come out. And the past few weeks in the wider spread market, we have witnessed an inevitable pullback, not just because of the market being overextended, but also in tandem with the tariffs that are being held up in the news, right? So that's one thing. And we've witnessed it. Now, some of us are riding the waves of profits on the way down. We're able to capitalize on some of the opportunities. And others, they get stung and it hurts, and they maybe miss some opportunities or get a little bit wiped out as a result of those downturns. And here's the truth, guys, that you already know. The downturns are never the end, right? The truth that we know is they are in fact more like a reset. We come down, we have this fertile ground where fresh opportunities are sown, and you're able to get better deals on things, buy when it's low. And this looks potentially like one of those opportunities. We'll be monitoring it, and I'm going to look for this level right here, this 200-day moving average. If it holds above it, we want to watch all of the indicators in tandem with any news that comes out tomorrow, and we'll most likely be having a close eye, possibly most likely trading the quantum computing space tomorrow if we see a pullback at market open that we can take advantage of. So again, guys, if you'd like to join us to watch me trade live, you can use the Love the Ride. It's a special sale for this market cycle. So for love, use code Love the Ride of the market cycle, and you get $175 off. You get to watch me trade live with that second link below. I'd love to see you there at market open. Thank you guys again for watching. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.